I was having y'all, it's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and I know I just gave y'all an update a couple of hours ago on the Jayden Daniels situation, but that was from reports from outside of the building. Now we officially have Dan Quinn, the Washington Commanders head coach, updating us on the Jayden Daniels injury himself in a press conference after practice. He said generally that he's hopeful that Jayden Daniels will play against the Bears. We're going to dive into every single one of his quotes in the situation and why some things he said made me think that Jayden Daniels will not play against the Bears, but some things make me hope and I'm fairly optimistic that he will play. We're also going to dive back into that David Aldridge article from earlier today. Also, can the Washington Commanders win with Mariota if Jayden Daniels is not able to go? I have some advanced stats to prove why we can, but before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Again, I'm keeping y'all updated on every little thing about Jayden Daniels. I'm working on another video that I was about to literally start recording and come out with, and then this update came out, so be on the lookout for another video within like the next maybe hour or two immediately after this one, because I want to go ahead and get that one out the way as well. So I'm coming with at least minimum 3 videos today, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Also make sure, of course, you pull up to the upcoming Bears game live stream. I'll be live streaming all 4 quarters just like I've been doing all season. And without further ado, let's go and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so Commanders head coach Dan Quinn spoke in front of the media today and gave us a lot of interesting quotes, like several where it's like some are like, okay, maybe he will play. Some are like, maybe he will not. We'll see. Honestly, I think he's just trying to keep everything under wraps, keep everything very plain and vanilla with the media so that especially the Bears team specifically aren't aware of what's going on. Do you prepare for Jayden Daniels or Marcus Mariota? Because if Jayden Daniels does not end up playing and you spend all of your time preparing for Marcus Mariota, for Jayden Daniels, and then Marcus Mariota plays, you know, he may catch you off guard because they're similar in certain ways, but they're also different in certain ways. If you're preparing for Jayden Daniels the entire time, Marcus Mariota may catch you slipping, but if you prepare for Marcus Mariota and then Jayden Daniels ends up playing, that's worst case scenario for them. So right now, I think Dan Quinn is just keeping his cards close to his chest. But either way, he said that Jayden Daniels' rib injury, just first of all, let's confirm it is a rib injury, thank goodness, because on the initial, at a certain point in the game, we knew it was somewhere in the stomach. We were guessing ribs because he was holding on to his stomach and things like that. But like the initial actual tackle, it looked like it could have been a lower leg injury. So I just want to make sure I confirm out there for those of y'all who saw the game live but may have not have heard anything yet. But I updated this for y'all during the live stream that it was definitely somewhere in the stomach, not a lower leg injury, which could have been worst case scenario for us. But either way, Jayden Daniels' rib injury did happen on the first offensive play. There was that really long run that he had for 40+ yards, and Dan Quinn did say this is not a long-term concern. Thank goodness. That's a celebration in itself. We don't have to worry about Jayden Daniels long-term because of this injury. Really, all we have to worry about is will he play against the Bears or not, which is great. Like at a certain point last night, if you would have told me that Jayden Daniels may not play against the Bears, but this is not something we have to worry about long term, I would have taken that any day of the week. Of course, I'm hoping he plays against the Bears, but to know and to hear from our head coach that this is not a long-term issue makes me so happy. We did not lose our franchise quarterback again. Also, he said Washington will take it week to week and are holding out hope he can play this weekend against the Chicago Bears. So first of all, we have a week to week designation basically put on Jayden Daniels' head right now. Not day to day, but week to week. Also, he did say that they are holding out hope that he can play this weekend against the Chicago Bears, so they have not ruled it out. They easily could have. If the injury was that bad as some people may think it is, if you're pessimistic about the situation, they would have just went ahead and ruled them out immediately, potentially, unless they're trying to do what I said earlier with the whole strategy thing, let them prepare for Jayden Daniels and then Marcus Mariota catch them lacking. I don't know. But either way, Dan Quinn said that he needs to see this week, quote, he needs to be fully himself all the way, unquote, for Jayden Daniels. So it sounds like if Jayden Daniels is not at least close to 100%, he will not play. Jayden Daniels is like 80%, they're not even going to chance it. Not because 80% of Jayden Daniels is better than Marcus Mariota, which it more than likely actually is, but more so long-term wise, we're going to be smart about monitoring his injury and his health situation to where this doesn't linger further than it has to, basically. Also, he said that they are hopeful that he can play on Sunday, but they will be smart about his return. He emphasized that they are not playing. This will not be a situation that lingers any longer. So my point is, if he does play against the Bears this upcoming Sunday, the game was flexed to 4:30, and the only people that may care about Jayden Daniels being healthy almost as much as us Commanders fans, Commanders teammates, anybody involved in the Commanders are CBS, because they were fighting to make sure that they kept that game and so that nobody else could take it. And then it was flexed from instead of the Ravens game. Remember, they held on to that one, and then they went ahead and like a week in advance made sure they flexed the upcoming Bears game to 4 p.m. so everybody could watch it and everything like that. So they're really hoping that Jayden Daniels plays as well. But hey, man, get off of our quarterback. No pressure. You know what I'm saying? If he's ready to go, he'll go. If he's not, he's not. Y'all just have to be short on that, CBS. But I still believe it's going to be a good game, even if Jayden Daniels can't go. But I'm just happy that Dan Quinn keeps reassuring us that they will be smart about this return, and they are not going to force this at all. He also said that they will make sure they take every precautionary step and do it smartly for the player and the man. And smartly and actually a word, because I feel like I've said that, like that slipped out of my mouth a few times, and I'm just reading this directly from NBC4 Sports and their breakdown of what Dan Quinn said at the press conference. But is smartly actually a word? I don't know. I'm gonna have to really look that up when I'm done with this video, because I've definitely said it by accident sometimes. Just it feels like it goes with a sentence, and then after I say it, I'm like, is that even really a word? But either way, Dan Quinn said Washington will take every step of the way with Jayden Daniels, but they do need him to be him to play. They're not just going to throw out a shell of himself. Jayden Daniels is hesitant because of his rib injury. They want him playing exactly how he's played. I mean, of course, play safe, avoid hits. Even in that situation, if he could take that back against the Panthers, I'm pretty sure he would probably just go down a few yards sooner so that play doesn't happen. You live, you learn, you move on, you learn from the mistakes that you've made, even though that wasn't even necessarily a mistake, but we can just take extra caution moving forward. But at the same time, man, they need him to be like literally him. We don't want a guy that's hesitant, that's out there afraid of getting hurt while he's playing. We can't have that. You can't play the quarterback position at a high level if that's what you're thinking about the entire time. He also said, quote, "We will really trust our eyes and the medical staff. We assess this every day," unquote, from Dan Quinn himself. He also said that the rib injury to Jayden Daniels won't impact the quarterback runs in the offense as well. Quinn says that it was basically a scramble, so he's not blaming it on the play call or anything like that. And I'm kind of happy to hear that, because some fans are saying never call that play again, never put him in that situation again. But I would definitely beg to differ, because a lot of the times that Jayden Daniels is running with the ball, even if it is read option or even if it's like a quarterback keeper, a lot of the times Cliff Kingsbury has something installed in that play to where Jayden Daniels can get rid of the ball if he wants to. He can throw it to somebody. He can hand it off to the running back. He usually has an out on a lot of these plays, including that run he just had for that big play. So Dan Quinn is also reassuring that the offense will not change because of the fact that Jayden Daniels got hurt, which, if anything, should scare the living mess out of defenses and future opponents, because I'm pretty sure they were looking at that Jayden Daniels injury just praying, please, Commanders, take that element of the game away from Jayden Daniels so we can just focus on stopping the running backs in this passing game, instead of also that extra layer of Jayden Daniels running himself. So I'm really happy that Dan Quinn went ahead and let everybody know this is not Cliff Kingsbury's fault. It was not the play call, the play design. Things just happen, basically. But again, he emphasized and reassured that this is, quote, not something that will knock him out long term, and that is great news. Thank goodness. And I'm telling you, that is very positive news. But at the same time, in my personal opinion, week to week doesn't sound like he's positively going to play against the Chicago Bears. I wouldn't put money on the fact that he would play against the Chicago Bears. Does not sound likely, because he didn't say day to day. He could have said day to day. He said week to week, and week to week sounds like, to me, more than a week of watching him is involved from like evaluating him to my understanding of the situation. So unless he has some crazy health improvement in the middle of this week, it is quite likely to end up being Mariota versus the Chicago Bears, Mariota versus Caleb Williams. It's still the number 1 overall pick versus the number 2 overall pick, and the Heisman winner versus Heisman winner, but it's just the backup one that we have in Mariota. It just happened to happen double-digit seasons ago. But this also means that Marcus Mariota will more than likely practice a little more than he normally does throughout the week. That's definitely something I'm going to watch for and keep y'all updated on as well. And even though I'm holding out hope that Jayden Daniels will play against the Bears, because Dan Quinn did say that they are hopeful that Jayden Daniels will play this Sunday, instead of saying something like doubtful. He easily could have just said doubtful. He said hopeful. But just in case, are we in good hands with Marcus Mariota? Check out these stats here. First of all, Marcus Mariota in relief of Jayden Daniels with 18 of 23, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a 132.8 passer rating, 2 big-time throws, and 0 turnover-worthy praise. How about this? How about specifically on 15-plus yard throws and attempts? A 91.5 passing grade, a 7 out of 9 completion percentage, 127 yards, and a touchdown. No turnovers, no interceptions, no nothing. Also, just to let you know, let's dive into the advanced stats. Marcus Mariota led the league in EPA per dropback this week, averaging a plus 0.59 EPA per play against the Panthers. He was also first in total EPA and first in time to throw, according to Next Gen Stats. Basically, Marcus Mariota played arguably, at least statistically, the best game of any quarterback this entire weekend. I mean, we still have Monday Night Football to go, but still, out of all of the guys that played Thursday, Sunday morning, afternoon, middle of the day, evening, night, all of that, Marcus Mariota performed the best out of any quarterback. I'm not saying he is the best, but statistically, he put up the best advanced stats. Also, like I mentioned earlier, that plus 0.59 EPA per dropback that he had, that was the best of the weekend out of any quarterback. That's also specifically the 7th best game for a quarterback this entire season. So you could argue that not only Marcus Mariota performed the best out of any quarterback this past weekend, he put up a top 7 performance out of any quarterback any week this season. Just to let you know, that is insane stuff right there. So, from there, it makes you feel fairly optimistic that if Jayden Daniels can't go against the Bears, Marcus Mariota can handle it. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie. I do worry about how Marcus Mariota will look against a top 10 Bears defense versus arguably the worst defense in the NFL of the Carolina Panthers that he just put up those elite stats against. But at the same time, defensively, including the Ravens game, the Commanders defense since week 4 have the 5th best EPA per play and are first in dropback EPA per play. So shouts out to the defense. Ever since week 4, and again, this is including the Ravens game, they have played like the 5th best defense overall and the number 1 best defense against the pass. Again, it's kind of hard to believe from what they did against the Ravens, but even with that Ravens game included, this defense is definitely starting to find a rhythm. Speaking of finding a rhythm, Dante Fowler is heating up. He just had the highest graded game, individual game, out of any Commanders player all season, and that's including Jayden Daniels and the entire offense, the entire defense, special teams, everybody. And I gave y'all a heads up before the season started on Dante Fowler, so I'm kind of doing my little victory lap right now. I gave y'all the heads up. But right now, my main point is our defense is starting to find their groove, their rhythm, and will play a large role whether we will beat the Bears, Jayden Daniels, or not. We're going to need them to step up either way, and I'm glad that they're starting to find a rhythm. Hopefully, Dorrance Armstrong will be healthy enough to return and play against the Bears. We'll need them. But also, we have other injury updates as well. Dan Quinn officially announced and updated us on the fact that Brandon Coleman is in concussion protocol. He left fairly early, like I think before halftime against the Bears, out with a concussion, and then now he's going through concussion protocol. Hopefully he's ready to play against the Bears, but at worst case scenario, we still have Cornelius Lucas. We're too deep at left tackle, so that's a good thing. Cornelius Lucas got beat very quickly for a sack against the Carolina Panthers. One play outside of that, I feel like he had a really good game pass blocking, so we'll be fine there. My problem with Cornelius Lucas is run blocking. He's not very athletic, he's not very mobile, so run blocking wise, he doesn't give you much there, but pass blocking wise, he can hold it down until Brandon Coleman comes back. Plus, he and Brandon Coleman split snaps anyway. Even though, like, the past couple of weeks, Brandon Coleman has been, like, the starter. Like, he's been the one out there first on the first offensive drive and has played, like, a little bit more snaps between the two. But Cornelius Lucas still gets a decent amount of snaps every game. And now with Brandon Coleman out, we're going to need him even more now. Also, going back to Dan Quinn, just to review real quick, he said that the Jayden Daniels rib injury is not considered long-term, and he reiterated that there is hope that Jayden Daniels can play on Sunday. We'll see what happens there. Shouts out to my boy Surge the Shooter on Twitter. He said, and I agree, so initially from Dan Quinn's words, I'm getting the feeling that Jayden Daniels may not play, but at the same time, I'm having the thought he warms up Sunday and then decides then. Also, shouts out to my boy Bleeding Burgundy and Gold, because I'm starting to lean this way. He brings up a great point. He said Jayden is playing. He could have went back in yesterday if it wasn't a blowout. Dan is just basically being coy with the Chicago Bears right now, and there is some truth to that for sure. I'm starting to lean that way because if you remember, I just reported just a couple of hours ago in my first Jayden Daniels injury update from everything that we were hearing last night and early this morning before Dan Quinn spoke. Again, this video is just directly talking about what Dan Quinn said himself. But remember earlier, we talked about how David Aldridge did an article saying, and he posted it on Twitter via The Athletic, he said the Commanders won big Sunday over the hapless Panthers, but they did one better off the field as their organization quickly and correctly kept injured Jayden Daniels on the sideline after he suffered a rib injury. And when you go into the article, he says, quote, before Washington's next offensive possession, Daniels went into the blue medical tent. Then after Emmanuel Forbes' interception late in the first quarter, Daniels was ready to go back into the game. He'd come out of the tent and got his helmet. He started to run back onto the field, and then he was stopped by the Washington Commanders coaching staff. He returned to the bench, and that's when he slammed his helmet out of frustration. He was escorted off the field into the Washington locker room, unquote. So that has me very optimistic about the chance that Jayden Daniels may play. Even more optimistic than anything Dan Quinn just said, even though I'm really happy to hear that there's no long-term issue here. But the fact that from David Aldridge and his sources, I don't know if he was physically at the game or not or whatever, but apparently, remember when Jayden Daniels slammed his helmet? That actually, when I first saw it during the game, during my live stream, I was like, that was the worst sign ever, because typically players like slam something, they show frustration after they realize, oh, my season is done or I'm out for an extensive period of time. That's what I was thinking from when he slammed his helmet. But apparently Jayden Daniels slammed his helmet because he was upset that he couldn't go back in the game even though he felt like he could. So that has me very optimistic, because apparently, like I said during the live stream, I felt like it was more so Jayden Daniels is not returning to this game because we're just blowing out the Panthers that bad and we don't need him, more so than his injury is actually that bad. And based on what David Aldridge is saying from having close sources to the team, that apparently what they're on the sideline, maybe that is true. And again, maybe Dan Quinn is just keeping his cards close to his chest for the Bears. And as a fan, even as a YouTuber, a reporter, I would love to know ahead of time if Jayden Daniels is going to play or not, but I prefer to do what you got to do strategy-wise. Don't put the Panthers, the Bears up on game. Let them keep them in the dark about everything. If that includes keeping us in the dark, I'm fine with it. Do what you got to do, and I just really hope Jayden Daniels goes out there and plays. But at the end of the day, if he's not ready, and like Dan Quinn said, if he can't be himself, don't do it. But for reasons I've already stated, I'm actually fairly optimistic that Jayden Daniels may actually play against the Bears and play at a high level and beat them. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. I really appreciate y'all for pulling up. I mean, this is already my second video today. It's only 4 p.m. I'm already working on another video that's going to probably come out by like 6 or 7 p.m. So I really appreciate y'all doubling back, spinning the block, and make sure y'all check out every video and leaving a like on every video as well. But most importantly, please let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Jayden Daniels' injury, how do you feel about his chances of playing? Are you leaning towards he will more than likely play, leaning more so towards he will not play? How do you feel about the other part of this, the other aspect? Do you feel like he should play if he's not 100%, or do you feel like we shouldn't force it? How do you feel about potentially if Marcus Mariota has to play? Do you feel like we can still beat the Bears if he can perform well? How do you feel about that? Let me know how you feel about everything, especially Brandon Coleman also dealing with a concussion injury right now. How do you feel about the chances of this defense stepping up big time down and finally humbling Caleb Williams, because the Bears haven't really played anybody that has had a good defense this year. Do you feel like we're going to be that first defense that he runs into a wall into? Either way, let me know how you feel about all of that. I really appreciate y'all. I'm going to keep y'all updated on every little thing going on with Jayden Daniels. Again, do not leave this video without stiff arming that like button. I really appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. I'm out.